Well, hello and welcome back to my channel. Today marks day 2 of documenting my coding journey to eventually becoming a software engineer. As I've mentioned previously, I am currently in the process of learning Python. My next class is scheduled to begin on May 8th. And in that class, we will be learning to program in Python with a focus on back-end development. So before my class begins on May 8th, I want to take some time and just immerse myself in Python and learn as much as I can prior to class. That way I can get the most out of the session. So today I spent some time learning how to write information to text files. A very straightforward process that has quite a bit of features, and I can really see this being beneficial in scenarios where you're looking to capture user inputs such as emails or schedule calendars or anything that requires data being utilized in something other than a database. So I will be looking to implement this in projects in the future, but for today this was my first time even knowing it existed and actually putting it into practice. The other thing I spent some time learning was how to manipulate internet data, in particular JSON data. Python has a package that allows you to work with data through the web, through the packages or dependencies that are offered in the program. This makes it a heck of a lot easier to work with JSON data, very similar to how it is with React using Axios or the fetch feature. So in today's video, I'm going to show you how I went about capturing the JSON data and eventually writing it to a text file. This won't be anything very strenuous, very beginner friendly, but I just want to show you all what I learned. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask below. So the first thing that you want to do is import the appropriate libraries. And the library that we're going to be using is urllib. This is a very unique library within Python. It has a lot of different features and a lot of different attributes that go along with the urllib, and the one that I'm going to be using for this session is .request. You feel free to take a look at the documentation. I'll be sure to leave it below, but there's a lot of different things that you could do with this particular library, so be sure to take a look. And the next thing we're going to bring in is import JSON. And this is a feature within Python that just allows you to work with JSON data. So once you brought in these two dependencies, the next thing you want to do is find our function. All right, now that we have our function set up, the first thing we want to do is grab the URL from where the data is being housed. So we'll go data URL. And in today's video, I'm going to be using random data from the random data API. And if you click on documentation at the top, the available resources are listed here. I'm going to be utilizing the beers resource. And once you click on the URL where the JSON data is housed, as you can see, it already is in JSON data format. So this is a good thing. We know we're at the right site. So now we'll go back to our IDE and we'll paste in the URL right here. And then the next thing we want to do is we want to start using some of the lib features. So I'll create another variable called web URL, and this is where we're going to utilize the URL lib library, and we want to use .request. And then once we have the request, we want to open that URL and we want to just put the data URL here just to confirm that we are getting a response back. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and just print out this web URL data just so that we can see what we're getting back. And right here, as you can see, we are getting back a object. This is a good thing. That means that it was able to reach out to the URL and get a response back. The next thing that we can do in order to capture the data is to create a data variable now that we're getting a response back. So we'll call the variable data, and in here we'll put the web URL, and we want to use another feature from the lib library .read. And then what we want to do from there is we want to decode the data that we're getting back. So just to see what we're getting back, let's go ahead and print out this particular variable. And as you can see, the data is coming back to us in the form of a JSON format. Now we want to use the JSON feature from Python. And in order to do so, I'm just going to create a variable called dJSON. And we'll go JSON.loads. And what we want to load is the data. So from here, let's just print this out and see what we are getting back. So as you can see, it looks very similar to what we had previously. It is just cleaned up a little bit more. There are spaces and it's a little easier to read, right? So the next thing that we want to do is we want to start to loop through the data. And if it finds brand, I want it to print out the brand. What we want to do is we want to print dJSON and I want to print brand. That's what I'm looking for. So from here, what we'll do is we'll run the code. And as we can see, the brand is Harp. So to make it a little easier, and because it is random, it's not going to be the same thing, I'm going to run the code again. And now you can see that it is Chimes. And just to confirm that we're getting it correct, last time I'm going to run it right here. We see that the brand is Hogarden and we're getting it as Hogarden. Okay, so great. We see that we are able to capture the JSON data from the URL request, 5 lines of code, and we are done. So now let's just say that we want to write this data to a text file. The next thing I want to do is I'm going to create a function called print results. And within print results, we're going to take data. I actually should move this up because this is going to come before. Yeah, let's do that there. All right, and right here, I'm going to create a variable called my file. And within my file, what I want to do is I want to open a text file. And I'm just going to call the file textfile.tx. It should be just txt. And right here, there are built-in options within the open feature. And the one that I want to utilize in order to make this work is the write feature, So we'll type W for write and it'll be ignited or it'll be started with the plus mark. And then from there, what I want to do is I want to take dJSON. And I want to create, from there, I want to create a new variable called dJSON. And within it, I want dJSON to load data the same way we did in the previous, in the initial example right here. And then from there, we're going to write another if statement. If we see brand in the JSON, what we want to do is we want to print dJSON. We want to print it. And we also want to capture, we want to grab the file that we just opened and we want to write to that file dJSON brand. And then from there, we'll close the file just out of good habit. And what we'll do last but certainly not least is we will bring in the print results. So what I'll do is I'll remove this information here and I will go print results data. Right now, if we run our code, you see that it gives us the brand of the day, but it also writes it to the text file as well too once it's done executing. So this is just a very, very beginner friendly, simple example of how to work with JSON data in Python using some of the built-in features in Python. And then after we've captured the JSON data, being able to write it to a text file. So I hope this video was entertaining and beneficial. Feel free to leave comments, thoughts, concerns in the comment section below. If it's something you enjoyed and you'd like to continue to support me in my journey, feel free to subscribe and like the video. Otherwise, I will see you in the next